Welcome to another episode of Arch City Sports. I'm your host, AJ Nance, and we have a very jam packed episode on this Monday. We are going to talk about the Cardinals series versus the Reds over the weekend, a little bit about the Memphis Redbirds, a little about the Springfield Cardinals and our minor league system. Going to break down what I thought about the St. Louis Blues draft over the weekend, St. Louis City with another match. And for the first time in Arch City sports history, we are going to do a mailbag Monday, meaning I'm going to be answering a couple of your guys' questions that you guys dropped in the question area on Instagram on our story that I posted, and a couple really good questions that we are going to break down today. But before we get started with everything, make sure to follow on Instagram, follow on TikTok, follow and rate on Spotify, and of course, like and subscribe on YouTube. Let's get it started though with the St. Louis Cardinals. They split a series with the Cincinnati Reds this weekend, tied the series 2-2. We come out of the series 43-40 on the season, 3 games over 500 with a day off on this Monday. What I took away from this series was our starting pitching was great. Matthew Liberatore, 6 shutout innings. Andre Palante, 5 1/3, no runs. Lance Lynn, 6 innings, no runs. Lance Lynn also reaching his 1,000th strikeout as a Cardinal, which is an unbelievable record. I posted a video about a week or two ago, kind of discussing where he ranks in the all-time Cardinals list. And for him to get 1,000 strikeouts as a Cardinal, he, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated Cardinal pitchers that we've had in the past 20 years. He has been steady and consistent and his entire tenure as a Cardinals starting pitcher. Ryan Helsley, 30 straight saves now. That record I mentioned a couple weeks ago, or I guess a week ago, of his 26 straight saves. He has extended that to 30 straight saves, which ties Lee Smith for the most saves for a Cardinal pitcher before the All-Star break. An unbelievable stretch of games for Ryan Helsley. It hasn't always been pretty, giving up a run or two every once in a while. But 30 straight saves is absolutely amazing. He's on his way to the All-Star game, and we can start discussing, is he going to pass Trevor Rosenthal for the most saves in Cardinals history? He is well on his way there. The bats were kind of silent this weekend. A lot of 1-run, 2-run games there. Sonny Gray had kind of a rough outing. The defense didn't really help him. It was a really hot day on Saturday. He gave up 5 runs, only 3 were earned, but he couldn't get through the 5th inning, was in the 90s with his pitches. So the defense kind of let him up there in that one. But overall, the bats were kind of surprisingly silent in this one. The Reds have an underrated pitching staff: Andrew Abbott, Hunter Green. We didn't see Graham Ashcraft or Nick Lodolo, but those are 2 other studs that have bright futures ahead of them. But just kind of a shocker, honestly, this weekend not hitting, especially with how we were performing before this. I think the biggest takeaway, we've talked about Goldie all year, we've talked about Arenado all year, but one guy that's really slipping fast is Nolan Gorman. And so, what do you do moving forward with a guy like Nolan Gorman? And for me, you have a couple options. Option one is kind of ride it out with him, continue to put him in the lineup. He's down to in the mid 180s now. I think he's at 186. He had 3 strikeouts on Sunday. You can continue to put him in the lineup and see if that power is obviously there. Obviously, there he has 16 homers on the year. Can you just ride it out and hopefully he figures it out? But the other option is you send him down to AAA. Now, last year, if you remember, Jordan Walker got off to a decent start. I mean, he had like a 16, 17 game hitting streak, just didn't have a whole lot of power, and they sent him down. And since then, I mean, he came back up and was very productive. But then starting off this year off cold, he's obviously been in AAA all season long. I personally think with a guy like Lars Nootbaar, which I mentioned in a video that I posted yesterday, with him coming up, he homered in Double A yesterday. I had somebody comment on one of our Instagram posts and say, "Is Michael Ciani the odd guy out when Nootbaar gets back?" And I don't think that's the case. Ciani's almost at 240 now and has been the best defensive center fielder in all of baseball. And you can make a case he's been the best overall defender in all of baseball this year. I don't think Ciani's automatically the guy out in this situation. The comment on Instagram also said maybe Brendan Donovan is the guy out, but Brendan Donovan's got a lock a lock spot on our team right now. He has been one of our best hitters this last month of the season so far. Him and Burleson have been carrying us. So Donovan rather is automatically in a spot for me. Now, is it in left field? I don't think so. What I would do is if you want to send Nolan Gorman down, especially when Lars Nootbaar gets back, I would send Gorman down, put Nootbaar in right field, put Siani in center field, put Burleson in left field, and then I would actually move Brendan Donovan, who's again possibly been a Gold Glove left fielder this year. I would put him at second base to keep his bat in the lineup, and he's going to play good second base for you. I think that's a way to get his bat in the lineup, obviously, every single day, get Burleson's bat in the lineup every single day, and then you get a guy as in Nolan Gorman down in the minors playing every single day, getting the reps, getting everything he needs without having that pressure, which I just feel right now it's all or nothing. It's kind of spiraled for him, and now he's trying to make up for it all in one swing, and it's just a lot of swinging and missing right now. A lot, a lot of strikeouts and a very high strikeout percentage for Nolan Gorman. All or nothing, absolutely all or nothing. He's a guy that came up through our system as the number one prospect. He's got, in my opinion, untapped potential. I personally was never very high on him. I thought when all the Juan Soto trade talk was happening a couple of years ago, I was fully on board with trading him and Carlson because they both were kind of their stock was high at the time. Carlson was coming off a pretty decent season, and they thought what possibly he could become. And Nolan Gorman not even getting a whole lot of time in the majors yet. It was just there was no struggles to kind of base his future off of. Now, with that being said, I don't think the Juan Soto trade would have been a good one. But for us in that case. But no, for Nolan Gorman in the situation we're at right now, I would have no problem sending him down there. It seems kind of weird sending a guy down if you just look at the homers with 16 homers, but he's batting 185 now. You're moved him all the way down to the 7 hole, sometimes the 8 hole in the lineup. Send him down. Let him like release all that pressure that he has right now. Get him everyday reps and see if he can come back a little fresher and hopefully back later this season hitting and producing for us. And hopefully Jordan Walker is here before you know it. What's next for the St. Louis Cardinals? This week we are off on Monday, as I mentioned. We go to Pittsburgh for 3 games, and then we actually go to Washington for 4 games. So a 7-game road trip coming against 2 very beatable teams. What I expect this week, we need to win. We need to win 5 out of 7. I'm going to write it down right now. We need to win 5 out of 7. I'm going to circle this and come back to this next week and kind of see where we were at. But there's no reason why we should not win at least 5 of these next 7 games. 2 pitching staffs. I mean, Pittsburgh has a pretty darn good pitching staff. I was going to say decent, but with Skeens and everybody else they got going over there, Mitch Keller has been great. It's going to be a tough series to hit, especially with how our bats responded to the Reds pitching. Washington, a more hittable rotation and bullpen. So no matter what, though, we need to win 5 out of 7 of these games coming up. Let's take a look at the pipeline here, though. Memphis Redbirds, they are also 3 games over 500 at 42-39. They have won 5 of their last 6 games. They had an 8-5 win on Sunday night, or Sunday afternoon, rather. Matt Koperniak continues his amazing season, going 2 for 6 with a double and an RBI. He is batting .321. And if he doesn't find his way up here at some point, he is definitely going to be packaged up at the trade deadline. Because as of right now, I will say that we are buyers. We're 3 games over 500, and our 2 so-called superstars haven't even really done anything to help us out. So I definitely think we're buyers. Matt Koperniak, though, an unbelievable season down there. Nick Dunn continues his amazing season, going 2 for 5 with an RBI. He is now over 350. He's batting .352 on the season. Luken Baker, another homer. He went 2 for 5 with a homer and an RBI. 23 homers on the year now. And instead of that average being at .218, he has bumped it all the way up to .243, which is looks a whole lot better. And with 23 homers and 59 RBIs, he's doing some damage down there, especially in this last week and a half, 2-week stretch. I mentioned a couple minutes ago about Nolan Gorman being sent down, a guy that could potentially come up in his spot if you want to switch around, maybe Fermin for Newt Bar and Gorman for this guy. It's Cesar Prieto, an unbelievable season. He's a middle infielder. We got him in the Jack Flaherty trade to Baltimore, and he was 2 for 5 last night, batting 297 on the year. In my opinion, he would be the guy I would call up. Nick Dunn might get the nod just because. He has spent more time and he's paid his dues down there in the minors, and he's batting 352, like I mentioned. The problem with Nick Dunn and Cesar Prieto is, you can probably guess it, they are both left-handed bats, and that's been our biggest issue all year. Is like, we have no right-handed bats anywhere to be found in the outfield, in the middle infield. It's just Goldie and Arenado and Mason Wynn, and that's about it. So that's something kind of keep in mind too, and that's why I believe wholeheartedly that Fermin, who produced in AAA, but there's no reason why if he was not a right-handed bat, he would not be up over Prieto and Nick Dunn. If he was a lefty and Prieto was a righty, without a doubt, Prieto's being called up. Jared Young is another name that I have not made any videos on. I've not really talked about him a whole lot. He's a little bit older, but he went 2 for 3 last night with a homer, a double, and an RBI, batting 264 on the season, playing the corner infield spots. He was at third base, I believe, last night. 9 homers and 29 RBI. So a pretty decent season for Jared. He's another guy that I could see being called up at some point in time. Nothing real flashy or special, but pretty solid, corner infield guy for you. Adam Kloffenstein pitched last night. He had his little cup of coffee at the major league level during that special Negro League game we had about a week ago or a week and a half ago. He pitched late in that one inning, and then got sent back down. 5 innings, 4 runs last night in Memphis. And then Ryan Lutos, who also had a little cup of coffee earlier with us this year, is now up to 8 saves in Memphis and a 1.73 ERA. So I could definitely see him finding his way back up, especially if we have any type of struggle at the major league level in our bullpen. The big question I was receiving yesterday was Gordon Graceffo, after going a 4 1/3 with a 1-run outing against Cincinnati on Saturday afternoon, kind of saving our bullpen actually big time. Why was he sent down? And that was just because they called up Jacob Bosiokovic because they knew they were not going to use Graceffo on Sunday. So just in case Lance Lynn struggled, they needed some kind of extra arm in the bullpen. Bosiokovic was going to be there. Obviously, you could not use Graceffo after pitching that much. Graceffo pitched phenomenal, by the way, and he will find his way back up here very soon, probably this week, as a matter of fact. Looking at Springfield with an 8-2 win. Jimmy Crooks, the up-and-coming young catcher, 3 for 4 with a homer and 2 RBIs. His 3rd homer of the season, now batting 302 on the season. Jacob Buchberger, 2 for 4 with a homer and 2 RBIs. He's now batting 277 with 4 homers on the year. A young guy, Dakota Harris, at 22 years old, just got called up to Double-A, 2 for 4 with an RBI. He's a guy that's not been really talked about in our minor league system enough. Over all the games this year at Single A and Double-A combined, he's batting 299 with 8 homers, 36 RBIs, and an 808 OPS. Keep an eye on Dakota Harris. I know we have a influx of middle infielders, but keep an eye on the name Dakota Harris. Quinn Matthews was also called up from Single A Peoria, making his Double-A debut last night. He's a guy I've been very excited for. Got some nasty stuff down there. We drafted him from Stanford a couple years back. He went 5 1/3, 1 hit, 2 runs, neither of them were earned, and 3 strikeouts. He also had 3 walks. But getting into the 6th inning with 1 hit and no earned runs is a very promising sign for Quinn Matthews, and I cannot wait to keep up with his Double-A season moving forward, and potentially Memphis if he can heat up in these next month or month and a half, 2 months. But yeah, obviously a lot of Cardinals, Memphis Redbirds, Springfield Cardinals content coming up this week. I will be sharing all the news and updates that come out through our pipeline. Let's take a look at the St. Louis Blues draft, though. A very busy week in St. Louis. I guessed it right. One of the three guys that I put on my list of potential draftees for the Blues, we drafted him with the 16th overall pick. We drafted the now 18-year-old Adam Jiricek, a defenseman with a lot of potential. He's very skinny, 167 pounds at 6'2". He's got to put on some size. He's obviously also recovering from a season-ending injury he had last year, so there's a little bit of risk there. But I guess they don't see a whole lot of risk in that. With us drafting Jiricek, though, that kind of set up the rest of the draft, and we can see a trend here of where we were going. Last year, drafting a lot of forwards and explosive players these last couple years. We went the defensive route, starting with Jiricek, but moving on to the second round. Colin Ralph in the second round. He's a 6'4", 216-pound defenseman that's known for his physical play, very aggressive. He's a guy that personally, I'm not going to say I like him over Jiricek or anything like that, but I could see Colin Ralph making his way to our team in these next couple of years. He's kind of that big physical defenseman that we have lacked. Not saying Parayko is not big, but he's not physical enough. And Colin Ralph could be that guy moving forward. In the second round as well, we got Lucas Fisher, another defenseman at 6'3". He's one of the youngest prospects in the draft, though. He won't turn 18 until September, so he's going to be 17 for the next couple months. He might take a while, but he's also, like I said, 6'3", a big guy. He needs to put on a little bit of size, but a very big physical defenseman. In the third round, we got Andre Koss, a 6'3" left winger. We got a lot of height and length in this draft. 6'3" left winger, and he's known for his skating, believe it or not. Usually those tall wingers and center icemen are not known for their skating ability, but Andre is not like that. He is definitely known for his skating. Also in the third round, we got center Adam Cheko, a 6'5" center known for his speed, believe it or not, known for his speed. In the fourth round, we got Tomas Mircic, known for his scoring, can light it up. In his last season in the league he was playing in, it was 62 points in 63 games. In the fifth round, we got 6'4" defenseman William McIsaac. In the seventh round, we got Antoine Dorian. And also in the seventh round, I'm going to definitely mess up this name, Matvey Korotki, something like that. He was also a seventh rounder. Not a whole lot of notes on him or Dorian, but William McIsaac, defenseman, 6'4". Lucas Fisher, 6'3" defenseman. Colin Ralph, 6'4" defenseman. Adam Jiricek, 6'2" defenseman. We got a lot of big defensemen that can hopefully put on some size. A couple of them. Colin Ralph is already loaded. That's 216 pounds, but a couple of these guys just need to honestly just mature and develop and grow. And so being 17 or 18 years old, we probably won't see any of these guys until they're 21, 22, 23. But it is interesting to see us go more of that defensive route in this draft. One major trade that went down also this weekend that we were not able to discuss or haven't discussed yet is Kevin Hayes, who spent 1 year with the St. Louis Blues. We traded him in a 2025 second-round pick for future consideration, so not a whole lot coming back from the Pittsburgh Penguins. Kevin Hayes, coming into the season, getting him last offseason, I kind of had some kind of high hopes. He had a couple really decent seasons with the Flyers, but really just did not do much for us this year. A lot of games he was just kind of there. Didn't really hurt us. I guess by the eye test, didn't really seem to hurt us a whole lot, but also didn't produce a whole lot. 13 goals, 16 assists, 29 points. That's it. In 76 games played, or 79 games played. 29 points in 79 games played. So I'm okay with trading him. I wasn't a huge Kevin Hayes fan halfway through the season, and by the end of it, I was like, if he leaves, it's kind of whatever. But like I said, coming into it, I was kind of had high hopes. Hopefully, 23, 24 goal scorer, but just didn't happen to be the case. But if any other Blues news happen throughout these next couple of weeks, we will definitely, especially during the free agency signing period, we will definitely keep you guys updated with all of that. Moving on to St. Louis City. It's been a struggle. It's been a struggle. Losing this one at Vancouver 4-3. We are now 3-10-7 on the season. We actually went up in this one 2-0 really quick. Bloom had a goal and Leuven had a goal. Um, and then Brian White scored three for Vancouver. Bang, bang, bang. Torreson got his got a goal in the 93rd minute. It was just too late though. There we only had one more minute after that. Shout out Klein and Ben Lunt for their first career starts. But going into this one, no Roman Burki, no Klauss, no Alm. I mean, you go down the list, we're missing about 5 or 6 of our starters. And especially when you have no Burki and Klauss for this one. And actually, we got news this weekend that Zhao Klauss is actually going to be out for the next 6 weeks. And I know he has not produced a whole lot, but he's a threat. No Pompeu, no Klauss, no Alm. No Torreson. I mean, no Nielsen. We're missing a lot of bodies right now. And that means guys like Caden Glover and Johnny Klein and Jay Reed, they are getting these opportunities, which is super cool to see. Overall, though, it's been a lost season. Last year, we just came out flying. And then we obviously went on a really bad stretch the second half of the season, losing in the first round of the playoffs to Sporting Kansas City. And we were the 1 seed, they were the 8 seed. Um, After that, coming into this season, we couldn't score a whole lot. Then injuries piled up, and we just don't have a lot of star power. It's just a very lost season this year. Nothing to super be discouraged of. I think a lot of people are mentioning maybe Bradley Cardinals' job on the line. I think it's possible maybe to just shake things up. It's really not on him, though. It really isn't. It just kind of sucks when those situations happen where coaches get fired and it's really not on their doing, besides the fact that, the organization just wants to shake things up and get a fresh start. I hopefully, in my opinion, I hope to see Bradley Cardinals stick it out and not get fired very soon at all. I kind of want to see what we do this next coming off season. I'm not giving up on the season when it comes to watching matches. I still love it. It's still fun. Watch every single one. But for me, I've kind of changed my way of viewing it of, making the playoffs is the number one priority, to now kind of viewing it as watching these young guys develop. Johnny Klein's a guy that I was lucky enough to get to talk to last year, and to see him be able to start and play all 90 minutes. It's so cool. Ben Lunt, who's been riding behind Roman Burki for the last 2 seasons, finally getting his opportunity. Guys like Jay Reed and Caden Glover getting the opportunity from the second City 2 to play at the top level. It's super cool. Hopefully to see a couple goals by these guys by the end of the season would be really nice to see. So watching these young guys develop and see what maybe potentially in-house we have for the future. Let's move on to our mailbag Monday, though. Real quickly, though, about St. Louis City, we do have a match this Wednesday, so I will be getting some coverage out on that throughout the week leading up to Monday. But like I was saying, let's go into our mailbag Monday. I'm very excited for this. Lucky enough, we did have a couple questions. I was really fearing maybe nobody would ask a question, so make sure to ask a few questions on there. Next weekend I'll post it, so make sure to go look on our story, and I'll love talking with you guys, talking about any kind of comments or questions. It's a lot of fun interacting with all of you. Hope to do a lot more in the future. The first question was, what is my honest opinion of Ali Marmol so far this season? Um, Last year, I was pretty vocal about my disliking for Ali. And to be honest, about 20 games into this season, I felt the exact same way. With that being said, my opinion of him has not fully switched to wanting him to be our manager, but I don't hate what he's been doing. I don't look at a lot of the bullpen decisions and lineup decisions and hate it. I love how he's put Mason Wynn and Burleson at the top of the order, 2 guys that are scrappy. I think you have to put Goldie in the 3 hole to give him opportunities to hopefully break out of this halfway through the mid-season slump, half a season worth of a slump. I like the idea of putting Wilson Contreras in that 3 or 4 hole, like get him going. I like the idea of putting Brendan Donovan in the 5 hole and moving Arenado to 6th. Donnie's the guy that gets on base a lot. Hopefully Arenado can drive him in and get him going. I like it, a lot of things he's doing. I like not giving up on Michael Ciani, even though at stretches he was batting 215. His defense is just worthy enough of putting him in the lineup. And with the bullpen, this year, Ollie's become a lot more analytical in a way. Really looking at what do the metrics look like, or what do the stats look like the third time through the order, stuff like that. For guys like Lance Lynn is a great example. On Sunday afternoon, went 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, only had 79 pitches. And throughout Lance's whole career, he's been a guy that's like, don't take me out of this ball game unless I'm giving up a lot of runs and getting hit around. And to see Lance kind of be okay with it shows some respect that they have for Ollie. Sonny Gray's another guy that a lot of times, more times than not, he calls his own shots and says when he wants to be taken out of the game. But for Lance to be taken out with 79 pitches when he's used to going, well into 100, 105, 110 pitches, him to come out with a shutout after 6 innings with 79 pitches, it was a hot day. But then you put in the big dogs, put in JoJo, you put in Kittredge, you put in Helsley, and it's been working. It honestly has been working. It's just kind of the bats have not been very consistent. I don't even want to say bad, but they just haven't been consistent enough to be a better team than 3 games over 500. But with all that being said, I'll take 3 games over 500 based over what we had these last 2 years. The one thing I'm kind of looking at, and I don't want to happen, is I don't want Ryan Helsley and JoJo and Kittredge to be burnt out by the end of the season. So hopefully we can eat up some more innings. I think there's going to have to be a stretch where Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn are going to have to go into their 100, 105 pitches. Like a day like today, on Sunday, where Lance was at 79 pitches. Those type of outings, I think at some point in this season, we're going to have them just go through the 7th, go potentially into the 8th, just so we help Helsley in the back end of that bullpen stay fresh. But I think Ollie right now is keeping those starters fresh throughout the year, or by the end of the year, hopefully they can eat up some more innings. So far, I'm liking it. I'm not going to hate on it too much. The other question was, is it time to let Goldie and Arenado go? It's a very odd and kind of awkward situation. Goldie going to be 37 in September. Arenado's 33. These guys have not produced at all this year to the level that we know they can. Goldie's been a below average hitter, and Arenado's been a below average hitter. Arenado's on pace for 11 homers this year, and his defense has obviously taken a drop as well. Goldie's batting 225 with an OPS over 700. You're not going to, in my opinion, get a whole lot for them. I mean, you're going to get some, but you're not going to get what you would normally get for a guy like Goldie and Arenado. And the other thing is, what does that really tell your team? Because these are, even though they have not produced like they usually do, these are the two leaders of your organization. These are the two, I said earlier, stars. I know the guys like Mason Wynn and Alec Burleson and guys like that are kind of blossoming onto the scene, but Arenado and Goldie are still your faces of the franchise for the foreseeable future. I know Wynn and other guys may be able to take that eventually. I don't know if you're going to get a whole lot that you would normally get in a return. And like I was saying, it's different because we're 3 games over 500. Arenado to Los Angeles is the one situation where I think could potentially happen if we start losing a little bit and he doesn't seem fully bought in and he wants to go play for a contender. They're dealing with Chris Taylor and Kevin Biggio at third base right now, and with Max Muncy hurt. So that's a potential landing spot. In my opinion, we are not going to do this. I guess it doesn't mean that we shouldn't if we want to look towards the future. I think these next month and a half of the season will really tell us what direction we're going. Are we buyers at the deadline? Are we sellers? If we start going on this mad losing streak, we can discuss it again about dealing these guys. I think overall, my opinion on is trust them. They've done it their whole careers. Just trust them. Put them in the 4 hole. Put them in the 6 hole. Put them at the 5 and 6 hole. It doesn't matter. Just get them the reps and hope they can kind of get out of this at some point. But overall, that's going to wrap it up for this Monday episode of Arch City Sports. Of course, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, rate and follow on Spotify. We are over 500 followers on Instagram already and almost at 500 on TikTok. So make sure to go follow over there, guys. And of course, keep up with our stories because I'm going to be answering or asking some questions throughout the week leading up to next Monday's episode. But I will see you guys tomorrow for Tuesday's episode. And everybody go watch some Cardinals baseball, and I will see you guys tomorrow.